My mom's 26-year-old fiancé insisted I call him dad. Show some respect. My mom barked. I just chuckled, then showed her proof he was only after her cash. 5 days later, my phone exploded with calls after she kicked him out. I, 28M, never thought I'd be writing this, but here we are. My mom has always been gullible when it comes to men, but this time she really outdid herself. 3 months ago, she introduced me to her new boyfriend, a 26-year-old personal trainer she met at her gym. The age gap alone was a red flag, but what really got me was how quickly things escalated. Within 6 weeks, they were engaged. The first time I met him was at Sunday dinner. He walked into my childhood home like he owned the place, immediately started rearranging the furniture for better feng shui, and then had the audacity to tell me I should call him dad. "Listen, son," he said, putting his hand on my shoulder while I was helping mom in the kitchen. "I know this is an adjustment, but I'm going to be your new father figure. I think it would show respect if you started calling me dad." I actually laughed out loud. "Dude, you're 2 years younger than me." That's when my mom came storming over. "Show some respect," she barked. "He's going to be your stepfather." I just chuckled and walked away, but something about the whole situation felt off. This guy was too smooth, too eager to play house with a woman who happened to own 3 rental properties and had a healthy retirement account. Over the next few weeks, I watched him work his magic. He moved in within a month of the engagement, started talking about their future plans, which conveniently involved expensive renovations to mom's house and a luxury honeymoon in Europe. He even convinced her to add his name to her checking account for emergencies. The breaking point came when mom called me, crying, because she'd had to take out a loan against one of her rental properties. Apparently, her fiancé had some unexpected medical bills that needed immediate attention. That's when I decided to do some digging. I started with social media. His Instagram was full of gym selfies and motivational quotes, but I noticed something interesting in the background of his photos. The same woman appeared in multiple pictures over the past year, always cropped out or partially hidden, but definitely there. I reverse searched one of the images and found her profile. Her name was Jessica, and according to her relationship status, she was engaged to my mom's fiancé. The engagement photos were dated just 2 months before he met my mom. But it got worse. I found his Venmo transactions. His profile was public, rookie mistake. Over the past 6 months, he'd been sending regular payments to someone named Rent Collector Mike and Jessica Babe. The amounts were significant, and the timing coincided perfectly with when he started dating my mom. I dug deeper. Turns out, this guy had a pattern. I found a local Facebook group for women over 50, and when I searched his name, 3 different women had posted warnings about him. Same MO every time. Charming older women, moving in quickly, accessing their finances, then disappearing when things got complicated. One woman lost $15,000. Another had to sell her car to cover the debts he left behind. I screenshot everything. Bank records, social media posts, the other women's testimonies, his Venmo history. I compiled it all into a neat little folder. The hardest part was figuring out how to present this to mom without her shooting the messenger. She was completely smitten, talking about wedding venues and how lucky she was to find love again at 54. I decided to be strategic about it. Last Tuesday, I invited myself over for dinner. He was there, of course, lounging in my dad's old recliner like he belonged there. During dinner, he started his usual routine about respect and family dynamics. "You know," he said, cutting into the steak mom had bought with her own money, "I've been thinking we should have a man-to-man talk about boundaries. I'm the head of this household now." I nodded thoughtfully. "You're absolutely right. We should definitely talk about boundaries." After dinner, while mom was cleaning up, I pulled out my phone. "Before we have that talk," I said, "I wanted to show you something interesting I found online." I started with the Instagram photos. His face went white when he saw Jessica's engagement ring, the same ring he'd given my mom. "I can explain," he started. "Oh, I'm sure you can," I said, swiping to the next screenshot. "But let me show you the rest first." I went through everything methodically. The Venmo payments, the Facebook warnings, the timeline that proved he was engaged to Jessica while courting my mom. His face went from white to green. "Look, man," he whispered, glancing toward the kitchen where mom was humming while she loaded the dishwasher. "This doesn't have to be a big deal. I can make this worth your while." "How much?" I asked, genuinely curious. $5,000. Cash. Just keep this between us, and I'll slowly phase out of the relationship. She'll never know." I pretended to consider it. "Make it 10, and you've got a deal." His relief was palpable. "Done. I can have the money by Friday." "Great," I said, standing up. "Mom, can you come here for a second?" The look of panic on his face was priceless. Mom walked in, drying her hands on a dish towel. "What's up, honey?" "Your fiancé just offered me $10,000 to keep quiet about his other fiancée," I said casually. The dish towel hit the floor. What followed was the most spectacular meltdown I've ever witnessed. He tried to deny everything, then blame me for misunderstanding, then actually had the nerve to claim he was the victim of identity theft. Mom, to her credit, demanded to see the evidence. I walked her through everything, piece by piece. With each screenshot, she got quieter and more furious. The final straw was when I showed her the Venmo payment to Jessica Babe from 3 days ago, the same day he'd asked Mom for money for those medical bills. "Get out," she screamed. "Get out of my house right now." He tried to negotiate, claiming he needed time to pack, but Mom was having none of it. She literally threw his gym bag at him and changed the locks that same night. But here's where it gets interesting. 5 days later, my phone started exploding with calls and texts. Turns out, Jessica had found out about Mom, and she was furious. But instead of being angry at him, she was convinced that my mom had stolen her man. Jessica started calling me, demanding I give her mom's contact information so she could get her fiancé back. When I explained that her fiancé was a serial scammer, she accused me of lying to protect my mom's home wrecking. Then the other women from the Facebook group started reaching out. Word had spread that someone had finally caught him in the act, and they wanted details for a potential class action lawsuit. But the best part? His gym fired him after one of his previous victims called and explained the situation to management. Apparently, using the gym to scout potential targets violated their code of conduct. Update 1. It's been 2 weeks since the confrontation, and things have gotten even more bizarre. Jessica showed up at Mom's house yesterday. She was convinced that if she could just talk to Mom, woman to woman, they could work things out and share him. Yes, you read that right. She wanted to propose a time-sharing arrangement for her cheating fiancé. Mom called me immediately, and I rushed over to find Jessica sitting in our driveway, crying and holding a folder of what she claimed were proof of their real love. The folder contained printouts of their text conversations, including some pretty explicit photos I definitely didn't need to see. "He told me your mom seduced him," Jessica sobbed. "He said he was trying to let her down easy, but she kept throwing money at him." I showed Jessica the timeline again, proving that he'd been with Mom first, but she refused to believe it. In her mind, he was the victim of an older woman's manipulation. The situation got even weirder when he showed up an hour later, apparently having tracked Jessica's location through her phone. He tried to convince both women that I had fabricated everything and that he was the real victim of a jealous son's manipulation. For about 10 minutes, I thought they might actually believe him. He was smooth, I'll give him that. He had explanations for everything. The Venmo payments were for his sick mother, the Facebook warnings were from crazy exes, and the engagement ring situation was a misunderstanding. But then Jessica's phone rang. It was rent collector Mike demanding to know where this month's payment was. The same Mike from his Venmo history. Game over. Update 2. 3 weeks post-explosion, and this saga has taken some unexpected turns. First, the good news. Mom is doing great. She's embarrassed about the whole situation, but she's handling it with more grace than I expected. She's also decided to be more careful about her finances and has removed his name from all her accounts. The rental property loan is being handled, and she's considering legal action to recover the money he took. The weird news, Jessica and 2 of the other victims have started a support group. They meet every Thursday at a coffee shop downtown to discuss recovery from narcissistic financial abuse. Jessica invited Mom to join, which is awkward, but Mom is actually considering it. The satisfying news, remember how he offered me 10 grand to keep quiet? Well, turns out he didn't have 10 grand. He didn't even have 5 grand. His entire lifestyle was funded by the women he was scamming. When Mom kicked him out, his house of cards collapsed immediately. He's currently living in his car and working at a different gym across town. One of Mom's friends spotted him there and said he looks rough. Apparently, he's tried to approach a few women, but word has spread in the local fitness community. The concerning news, he's been calling Mom from different numbers, trying to reconcile. The messages started apologetic but have gotten increasingly aggressive. He's claiming that I ruined his life and that Mom owes him for the emotional investment he made in their relationship. Mom saved all the voicemails and took them to the police. They can't do much since he hasn't made any direct threats, but they've documented everything in case things escalate. Update 3. 1 month later, and I'm writing what I hope is the final update to this insane story. The support group thing actually worked out. Mom has been going to the Thursday meetings, and it's helped her process what happened. She's made friends with 2 of the other women, and they've been helping each other navigate the legal process of trying to recover their money. More importantly, Mom has started seeing a therapist who specializes in financial abuse. She's learning to recognize red flags and rebuild her confidence. She's even started dating again, a nice guy her age who she met through a book club, not a gym. As for our con artist friend, karma caught up with him in a big way. Remember Jessica? Well, She did some digging of her own and discovered that he'd been running this scam for at least 3 years. She found 7 other women across 2 states who had similar experiences. Jessica, despite her initial delusion, turned out to be pretty resourceful when she put her mind to it. She organized all the victims, and they filed a group complaint with the state attorney general's office. Turns out, what he was doing constitutes organized fraud, and the amounts involved made it a felony. He was arrested last week. But here's the kicker. When they searched his car, they found detailed notes on his targets. He had files on dozens of women, including their financial information, personal details, and what he called manipulation strategies specific to each person. Mom's file was labeled Lonely Widow with Property Assets, Approach Through Fitness/Health Angle, Move Fast Before Family Interferes. Reading that made my blood boil, but it also validated everything I'd suspected about his calculated approach. The police found evidence of fraud going back 5 years, involving over 30 women and approximately $200,000 in total damages. He's looking at serious prison time. Jessica called to thank me for exposing him. She said that while she was initially angry at me for ruining her relationship, she now realizes I saved her from losing even more money. Apparently, he'd been pressuring her to take out a second mortgage on her condo for their dream wedding. The other women from the support group have also reached out. One of them, who lost $15,000, said she'd given up hope of ever seeing justice until our situation brought everything to light. Mom and I are closer than we've been in years. She's apologized for not listening to my concerns initially, and I've apologized for not approaching the situation more gently. We've both learned something about communication and trust. She's also implemented what she calls the son veto rule. Any future romantic interests have to pass a background check by me before things get serious. I'm not sure how I feel about being Mom's official boyfriend screener, but after this experience, I'll take it. The most satisfying part of this whole ordeal? He called me from jail last week. Apparently, I'm allowed one phone call to family members, and he somehow convinced the system that I was his stepson. This is all your fault, he said. I could have made your mother happy. By stealing her money? I asked. I provided companionship and emotional support. That has value. So does honesty, I replied. Maybe try that with your cellmate. I hung up and blocked the number. Looking back, I'm glad I trusted my instincts and did the research. It would have been easier to just stay out of it and let Mom figure things out on her own, but she could have lost everything. The house, the rental properties, her retirement savings. He had plans for all of it. The experience has taught me that sometimes being a good son means being willing to be the bad guy temporarily. It also taught me that my mom is stronger than I gave her credit for. Once she saw the truth, she didn't hesitate to protect herself and help other women avoid the same fate. As for calling him dad, I think I'll stick with inmate number 47291. The trial is set for next month. Mom and I will be there to testify, along with Jessica and the other victims. His public defender has already reached out about a plea deal, but the prosecutor says they want to make an example of him given the scope of the fraud. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm actually grateful this happened. It brought Mom and me closer together, helped several women get justice, and got a dangerous predator off the streets. Plus, I've got one hell of a story for family gatherings. Just don't expect me to call anyone dad anytime soon.